Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Excited for today's guest. She is an executive function coach at Beyond Coaching. And what she does is she helps people with ADHD and autism to get the strategies they need to better manage their time and attention to meet their long-term goals. Very excited to be rocking out today with Genie Love. Hey, Genie, you ready to rock?
I am ready to rock.
Awesome, cool. And so Genie Love, is that your name or is that a stage name?
No, that is my name. So Love is from my father, and Genie, interesting. There are 5 generations of Genies in my family. So it's a family name that goes all the way down to my daughter as well.
That is awesome. So that's
Yeah.
cool. So hopefully we're gonna get some wishes fulfilled on this
Yeah, go
podcast.
for it.
So
I'll
we
do my
always start,
best.
so we always start off on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
I just feel like success for me is being here right now at this point because I was a public education teacher, a high school teacher in the US for 15 years. And then my family and I moved to South America where I was teaching for 5 years, and COVID brought us back. And I had this like sort of gap of time where I wasn't going back to public education. I was going to be available for my she was 7-year-old daughter at the time in case she needed to be homeschooled. And so there was sort of this gap of time where I didn't have anything going on professionally. And I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do because I didn't think going back to public education was going to be what was best for my family. It's too exhausting in the US. And my daughter, we've recently found out, has ADHD, and she had some behavioral challenges. And I needed to be emotionally available for her. I needed to be physically available for her. And so there was just like this weird, like, what am I going to do? And I was fortunate to have this chunk of time where I was just researching. Like, I was on Indeed every day, several times a day. I was on LinkedIn, just like putting in all the keywords. What am I good at? What do I know about? What does that lead me to? And I randomly kind of found out that the experience that I had teaching high school students, I really identified most with the kids who have ADHD and autism. And then I found out that there's this wave of neurodiversity that's sort of catching up to adults. And adults are beginning to identify themselves as having ADHD or autism and wanting help with executive functioning skills, which I can explain what those are. And so I just reached out. I put myself on Fiverr just to see, would anybody want any coaching? And they did. And I had clients from all over the world. It was amazing. And it's still ongoing that I work with clients on Fiverr. And then I decided to just like go out on my own a little bit and try to see how many more people I can reach and provide better services. And here I am. I'm doing it. I'm an entrepreneur, which is a word I never thought I would use to identify myself. And I feel like a success story because I am doing this for my family. That is where I started. I started with how can I create a life that's going to be better for my family. And then I just worked to build that. And I'm helping clients, and they appreciate the work that I'm doing, and I'm doing it for my family. So I feel like this is success for me.
Wow, that is an amazing story. Well done.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you.
And going out on Fiverr too, that's really cool, and finding out that people are actually looking for it. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, now with the good note, there's usually some bad notes along the way as well. So I want to make sure that we touch on those as well, like the things that might not have gone according to plan. So was there some stuff, some big things that happened that didn't go according to plan? And, how did you get through it?
Yeah. Well, here I feel like every day I'm experiencing that because I'm actually kind of a shy person who doesn't like to put myself out there. And so if you look me up on LinkedIn, I don't have very many connections. I'm actively working to grow that. That's me putting myself out there. I don't like Facebook. I don't generally use it. And so what I'm doing is I know, but I enjoy making connections. Like I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so excited to talk to anyone, but putting myself out there, that first step. And so for me, and this is kind of what I coach my clients when they're encountering whatever the hurdle is, it's like you have to acknowledge that that hurdle is something that is in front of you. And as soon as you've done that, you acknowledge it, you've taken it out of the emotional part of your brain in the back, you've moved it to the front of your brain where you now have power to make a decision about it. And so that awareness, that moment of mindfulness, so I know that I'm now going to send out some cold emails to random people to see if they want to talk to me. Okay, I'm going to find the right space in my home to do that. I'm going to make sure that the space is set up for me to do that, and I'm going to tackle it head on. And so every day I feel like you're encountering, or at least I am encountering, hurdles that feel like failures. And then I just prepare myself to address them.
Wow. Do you find it easier to talk to people online or like in person? Is it any different to you, or are you nervous either way?
No, this I love. I can do this. Like I love to hang out with people. I want to learn about you and your story. When I'm coaching my clients, like that's definitely a part of it, is getting to know them. So the hardest part for me, there's something about the online world. Maybe it's the fact that I'm 45 years old. So I didn't grow up online. And so for me to just like put something out there permanently for the world is daunting. And so that is something that I have to confront on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm 45 as well. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, we
You
have
know,
it's this hybrid generation where we've been online for a lot of our adult life, but I still remember not being online and having to actually go
no,
to a friend's house and see if they're home, you know? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so putting myself out there for all of like eternity and permanence is, yeah, it's daunting for me.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, one of the things we talk about is the jam room. It's the home office. It's the place where the magic happens. So, that is a struggle for a lot of people getting started, to find a place to work and to set that up properly. So, what are your tips on, setting up a successful jam room?
Yeah, so my background's a little blurred because we are in the middle of my small house. And so I don't actually have an office. And so, but what has always worked for me, and what, again, I kind of coach my clients, is to think about different ways to use your space, because sitting at a desk from 9 to 5, I think is kind of a myth. Like the longer we sit at that desk and stare at the same computer, the same space, it's like the creativity just kind of drains away and you get heavier and heavier in your chair. And so actually my office is portable. I use a laptop, and I am a big fan of just like paper and pencil, because sometimes to be creative, I just need to like get crazy on a piece of paper. And so it depends on the task that I'm doing. So there is a space where I have an external monitor. So if there's something that's going to need several screens or a lot of my attention, I'll plug in there. Um, but if I'm just researching new people that I want to talk to, or studying, the profiles of my clients, maybe I'll just sit on the couch and enjoy that for a little while. Or if I'm getting tired and need a change of scenery, I might just pick up my office and turn it and just change the position or face a different wall. And just that slight movement just seems to kind of bring back the creative juices flowing in my brain. And so I actually kind of encourage people to reconsider the home office and see if you can have some of that be portable. Like I've coached clients to stand and even just work for a little bit at their kitchen counter, if that's the place that you have to stand, when you really need to just like, again, refresh and be creative again. So I think your office can and should be different places depending upon the activity you're doing.
Yeah, and we get the benefit of being able to do that working from home because we can go even to a coffee shop. Actually, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Like, should you get out of the house?
Absolutely. Yes, you should get out of the house. For me, a coffee shop probably isn't the place, because if you're looking at me on video, you can see I have the big headphones on because they help me focus better. So a coffee shop probably wouldn't be, but if you are just trying to figure out how am I going to develop my website, or what am I going to do to change my marketing, and you really need to think deeply about something, just go sit outside under a tree. I really encourage you to leave your computer and just take the notebook and the pencil and leave your phone and just sit for a half an hour and see how that feels. and see what comes out of you. And it's really kind of amazing. And so just, yeah, really experiment with space and places and styles of chairs. And I don't know, maybe you want to lay on the floor when you're, writing your emails that are going out to people. Just try anything, see how that feels.
Love it, love it. So now, it seems like you have a lot of knowledge, and I'm wondering, was that all just already there, or did you learn it from anybody else? What's your process of learning more?
Yeah, I think when I look back across the 20 years of my working career and into college, I think I've kind of been a nerd about what's going on in the brain the whole time. My first degree was as a physical therapist, and the patients that I found the most enjoyment working with were the ones who had strokes. So now they need to sort of recreate all the connections in their brain after having a stroke. After that, I moved into working with kids with learning disabilities at a high school. And again, now I look at it and I go, it was all about how do I make these connections work for kids who have learning disabilities, and the pathways that are typically there aren't working, and we need to reroute them and create new ones. And all along, I realize now that I've been developing these strategies on myself. I used to get up with my father early in the morning before school in high school to write a paper when I was the most fresh, or to revisit some concepts before a test or something like that. And I needed a place without stimulation to study in college. And so I would go to the deepest dungeons of the library, like the deprivation chamber, to really be able to focus. If I had to memorize something, I was pacing back and forth across my dorm, and just movement, I needed to move. And then I just continued to study it. I'm learning about it by my own daughter having ADHD now at 9. And I just keep listening to podcasts, people who are fine tuning time and attention in this increasingly distracted world. And I just find it just wildly interesting, and stuff that I try out and fine tune myself, and I learn from my clients who have strategies. And so I'm just kind of a nerd about it all.
Yeah, isn't it great that we have so many opportunities to learn nowadays? Like, podcasts are so
Yeah.
incredible. You can learn anything you want, and audiobooks as well. I used to
Yeah.
read a lot of physical books, and now I've sort of moved a lot of it into podcasts. And maybe that's a question for you. What do you think is better? Does it depend on the person, or like, do you think it's better to actually get a physical book and read, or hire a coach, or do podcasts? What do you think?
Well, maybe it depends on what you're doing. I think if you want to learn something deeply, probably a book would be the way to go, because the author has spent a lot of time and attention and detail into researching it and studying it and writing this sort of, novel for you. So when I find something that really resonates with me, and I can't do digital books. I want the paper in my hand. Again, maybe that's a product of my age, I'm not sure. But I also want to be able to write on it and dog ear pages and stuff. Um, Podcasts, those are just amazing, because you can really just find a niche of like what you're passionate about, what you're challenged by, what you want to learn more about. And there is so much information that people have that we now have access to. And so that's amazing. I do want to encourage you, every once in a while, I think we are a multitasking world now. And so the podcast is always on in the background. It's on when I'm doing the dishes, it's on when I'm driving, it's on when I'm taking a shower. And if you really want to pay attention to the information, consider it like a book, like this is just a time when I'm going to sit and absorb this information. And I also want to encourage you not to always have like sound going on in the background, to have some quiet, just I'm only doing one task time. And then coaching, I didn't even realize that was a thing until I got into it myself. And it's just, I have hired my own coach who is helping me to grow this business, because I was on Fiverr and that was doing fine, but I wanted to see if I could reach more people and, get my own website going and learn how to send emails and learn how to reach out to podcasters. and get my word out. And without a coach, I would not have even known where to start. And so I kind of look at it like it's like paying someone to go to college, except there's this one very specific thing that I need help with. And this person has experience with it and has had success with it and has helped other people find success with it. And so I'm gonna take all that, I'm gonna cut off years of me learning it, and I'm just gonna have them coach me through that. And it's just unbelievably valuable, like an investment in me and my business and making it go. And now I want to coach for everything. Whatever the thing is that is hard for me, I want to coach for that.
Yeah, you're totally right. And so I like what you said about because having a podcast running in the background as you're doing other things. I mean,
Yes.
you're not necessarily consciously learning all those things as you mentioned, but it is in there somewhere. And so
Yes.
rather than having music playing in the background, which some people do listen to the radio while they're working, I've found it just as useful and maybe even more useful to listen to a podcast instead of music, and especially instead of the
Yes.
radio, because then you don't have those news breaks, right? You can
Yes.
actually listen to something and you don't, but like you said, you don't really or do you? Like, how does that work in your brain?
Hi, it's Marc Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give two very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them two very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew agency. So use them, you won't regret it, and good luck.
Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, I can clarify that, which is there are some podcasts that I'm listening to a little bit more lightheartedly because I'm just want to hear the investment news of the day or whatever. And so that might be something that's going on in the background. But if there is a podcaster, so Cal Newport is one of the ones where I am realizing that a lot of the strategies that I was developing through the years, he's actually got the research that goes behind it and knows it so much more in depth than I do. And so when I'm listening to him, I'm learning. And so I make sure that that is sort of a different environment that I can focus and pay attention better. And so like if my daughter wants to come in and interrupt me, I actually pause it so that I can give her my attention and then come back to it. So I guess it depends on the purpose of the listening and how much attention it should have.
Love it.
You want to
Okay.
give it.
And so the way that I'm seeing it in the way that I do things as well is that sometimes I listen to something or watch something to learn, and sometimes I listen to it as a form of inspiration and
Yeah.
motivation. And I find that sometimes when you're listening, especially to these types of podcasts where there's inspiring stories and all that kind of stuff, it's great to have that in the background
Yes.
because you sort of maybe by osmosis pick up the motivation or the, you know what I mean,
Yes.
the energy of what's going
Yes.
on in that podcast, and it helps you to just keep things moving forward in your and that makes sense because even with music there's different energies to different types of music, and I know that from being a musician. Some of it will bring you
There
down,
you.
some of it will bring you up, so I imagine the same thing would happen with podcasts as well.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to describe it, I think. It's just like so what are you hoping to get out of it? So like, yeah, when you were like you had just broken up with your partner when you were in high school and you just wanted to listen to just like sad, like heartbreaking songs. And then
Yep.
when you're getting ready to go out with your friends, you want the pump up. So yeah, podcasts can be the same way. It's like I'm listening to this podcast because it provides this for me, whether it's an escape because you're listening to like true crime or whatever, or I just want to get briefly caught up on the news, or if I'm trying to learn or whatever. And absolutely, I love that. That's a excellent way to describe it.
Right on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about keeping the hat full and the cash flow and the sales and all that kind of stuff. So, when we get started, and I understand that you're actually new in your business as well. So, there's a real challenge in the beginning especially in the beginning, I find, to make sure that you are spending enough money to keep your business moving forward, but also consciously knowing that it's going to provide a return on investment. And I'm wondering, like, what's
Yes.
your, how have you been keeping your head above water during this time?
Yeah, and I definitely am, like, I pay attention to my finances. And so I know I'm one of those people that knows exactly what's going on, the credit card and how many services that I'm paying for. So for me, like, it was a huge leap of faith to just like make an initial investment in the coach who's going to help me get this business, growing. And then and this is kind of like, I coach my clients who maybe have a lot of, so you have all these ideas going on in your head. I need to do all these things and I'm kind of stressed about the money. Is it going to come together? And I think it works best if you can just kind of like narrow in the focus. Like, that your business is going to go and you are going to take a little bit of a financial hit while this is taking off. And so whether that is that you take out a personal loan or you have to dip into your savings or you stop contributing to your retirement for a little while or whatever, you consciously making this financial decision. And then really this is where, a coach comes in, is that they can just really narrow your focus. These are the steps. Do this and do this and this. And they'll try to, like, you'll be thinking like 1 year out that I hope that I'll be making this much money. Like, this is my goal. But there's like so many different aspects to getting there with your business, whether it's, marketing and I don't know, just all the things that you have to do, plus your daily life. So I encourage people to just like really focus in, like, what do I need to do the first 3 weeks, and really focus in on what is the number one priority. Do those things, you're going to see the tiniest bit of progress. And then say, okay, so now for the next month, I have to add this in to whatever it is that I'm doing to grow my business. And then just kind of keep the blinders on and move forward. And then you're going to start to feel momentum, right? You're going to see that you're making progress. And then that if I just keep plugging away at this, that my business is going to take off. And so I really just bring your focus in super narrow as you can, and try to let go. Like, you're aware of the money issues, but you can't let it pull you away from what you're really doing. And just like one foot in front of the other, one thing next. I did, I do have my Fiverr clients. And so I continue to have those. And then before I really got started growing my business, I picked up a very short-term side hustle that, was really good financially. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my attention into this. This is going to help me financially for 3 months. And then I'm going to really hit this hard. And so keep your eye open for opportunities like that as well. And they're out there on Indeed, like just like tiny little side hustles that can really make a big difference financially. And just be like, I'm just going to snatch that up for a little bit. And then I'm coming back hard to this.
Love it.
So that's what I've been doing. And I think it's really, because like I said, I am sort of crazy about the finances, but it's helped to keep me going. And
Love it. Yeah, and what you said about niching down and also breaking things up into smaller pieces is a big thing too, because I think that a lot of people make that mistake of like trying to change too many habits at once. And
yes,
you're definitely going to fail if you do it that way. I do know that through my experiences, you sort of have to figure out, what's the most important habit I need to build right now, and just start with that one habit and stick with it. I mean,
yes,
you'll be tempted to go, oh, that worked out well today, so I'm going to add another one tomorrow. No, it's not a habit yet. Right? You've got to do it consistently
yes.
for several days or maybe even a month before you start to add something else. And so, I like that that's kind of the process that you're taking as well, right? To do it that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can only do one thing at a time, and there's no quick fixes. And I think and again, in this distracted world with so many, I don't know, things coming at us at a time, that we just think that there's going to be a quick fix, and there's not. And you have to just be ready to put your head down and just plug away at it. And don't give up because it's not happening, and don't give up because you've had a setback, and don't give up because there's the hurdle that is so challenging for you. Because I just looked at it like, there's this author, Daniel Pink, and he wrote a book about regrets, and he had studied regrets of people all over the world. And one regret that is common amongst people from all over the world is not having tried the thing, not having done the thing. And that's where I got to this point. I was like, I'm 45 years old. I'm halfway through my working career. I've worked 20 years. I'll probably work 20 more. I can't look back on this and say, what if? What if I hadn't really given this everything that I have? And so that was my inspiration. I had to go for it.
Beautiful. Yeah, and what you said about the quick fix and stuff, I think that's, I mean, the logic there is that if it was easy, if there was a quick secret, then everybody'd be doing it.
Right.
But then on the other hand of that, there are a lot of people that have successful home businesses and self-employment careers, and they're doing great. And so we know,
Yes.
number one, that it is possible, but what all those
Yes.
people have in common is that they stuck with it, and they built those habits, and probably they got help. That is one thing that I've
Yes.
noticed a lot as well, is that they're not afraid to ask for help, right?
Yeah. And just, I mean, like I said, with my small group of LinkedIn connections, just put yourself out there and talk to people. People want to help you. They're excited for what you have to offer. The other thing I found is that you have something to offer. Like, what is simple or seems sort of mindless to you is somebody else's epiphany. And so just put that out there, and people want to hear from you. They want to have whatever it is that you have to offer, and they want to talk to you about it. And it's just, yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah. And what is the thing that you dread is something that someone else loves to do, right?
And that is something that I'm looking to like eventually reach out for, right? Is how can I get somebody to help me with this thing that is causes me so much stress? So how can you get help?
Absolutely. So it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Um, I think so. Neurodiversity is a word to describe anybody who thinks a little differently than maybe what has been typically or expected in the past. So perhaps you have dyslexia, perhaps you have ADD, perhaps you have autism, ADHD, many other things. And it's catching on with adults, and it's become part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement. And so adults are getting help, but also it's becoming something more common to talk about, and people are becoming more open about it. So I am loving helping adults get control of their time and attention so that they can focus better and be their most creative selves. I'm also excited because businesses are embracing this idea as well. And so, I look forward to working with some businesses to help them make an environment where people can just be themselves, as far as perhaps you don't have the most organized desk. Perhaps time management is a challenge for you. Perhaps you get this like large project assigned to you, but you don't always know how the pieces fit together. And we can help each other and coach each other. People aren't afraid to ask questions and not try to hide all of that to look like you fit into this little box of what we expect the normal worker to be. And then once people don't have to hide that stuff anymore, then the creativity just explodes, because people are wildly creative thinkers. But if they have to spend so much time trying to hide their weaknesses, then that takes too much of their energy, and they don't get to be as creative. And so I love this. It's sort of like this thing that's just sort of starting to catch on. It's catching on across the world, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Right on. So Jeannie, tell me, what would be the ideal client? So who would I be if I was the type of person that would get the most out of one of your sessions?
So let's say that you have, so executive functions, which I had mentioned previously, is the ability to make decisions, solve problems, manage your time, cope with stress in an efficient and positive way, and just generally organize yourself. And for some people like me, that's hard. I have just pieces of notebook paper everywhere. But there are a lot of strategies that we can implement to help you find blocks of time to give your work or something that you're passionate about and haven't had time you haven't found the time to give to that passion, music, or I had a client who just wanted to find time to make photo albums of her family. So we can work together to find those blocks of time. So somebody who's willing, I can't give you the tool, I'm not going to give you the hack that's going to get you there, but we'll work together to create a tool and a system that will work for you. And so my clients who kind of drop away are the ones that want the quick fix. They want this calendar is going to work for them, this app is going to work for them, but it's not. And so if you want to come to me and we'll work together, and then we'll create systems that work for you, and then we'll work on strategies for when things kind of just fall apart. So something has come up that has completely derailed your system. And so how do we cope with that? How do we get back on track? And a lot of these people a lot of my clients are carrying some baggage from when they were younger because the school system wasn't set up for them. And so they have felt beat down and that they don't have it together and everybody else does. And so we do a lot of mindfulness work on coming to terms with that and who we are and how to access your creative, crazy brain. So yeah, those are the clients I'm looking for. If that sounds like something you want help with, I would love to talk to you. Just give me a call. We can chat. I'll give you strategies, even just to chat, whether or not we end up working together long term.
Right on, right on. Well, on your last point there, a little secret: nobody has it together. It's just some people are better at hiding it.
Exactly. That's my point. Everybody's working on something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You just have had this one hammered into your brain for so many years that you think it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh,
Nobody
yeah.
has it together.
Nobody has it together. I think that was one of
Right.
the memes that I've seen recently is that, when you're a child, you think that adults, have it all together. And then once you become an adult, you realize the adults have no idea what's going on.
No idea.
So who are you following? I don't know.
We're all just making it up as we go here and just trying to fine tune what works.
Yeah.
And so I love to do that with people.
And help each other, right?
Exactly.
So how do we find out more about you then?
So my website is genielove.coach. Genie is GENIELOVE.coach. You can find me there on my website. I'm also on LinkedIn and looking for new friends. So if anybody wants to reach out, I'd love to talk to you.
I'm looking for friends.
I'm looking for more friends.
Right on. Thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Genie. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks. I had a lot of fun too. It was fun talking to you.
Great. To the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.